Hello students, how are you? Yesterday I told you that the atmosphere of the classroom was very peaceful and everybody in the classroom was looking serious. But now I am going to spend next part of the lesson. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty. The village people sitting quietly like ourselves, old Hauser with his three-cornered hat, the farmer mayor, the farmer postmaster and several other besides. Now Franz is saying the whole school was looking serious, but the thing that surprised me most, the thing that surprised Franz most was to see on the back benches that were always empty. He said the thing most surprised Franz that on the back benches village elderly persons were sitting. Usually all days those back benches remained empty, but that day Franz saw that elderly persons of the village were also sitting on those benches. Among them old Hauser with his three-cornered hat. Among them old Hauser was sitting by putting his three-cornered hat on his head. The farmer mayor was also sitting, the farmer postmaster was also sitting, and several other elderly persons of the village were sitting on the back benches. Everybody looked sad. That day everybody looked sad, looked sorrowful, as something bad was happened. And Hauser had brought an old primer thumbed at the edges, and old Hauser brought an old primer, an old book for learner. He was an old man, but he brought an old book for learner, thumbed at the edges. The pages of the books were damaged and torn at the edges, means it was very old book. And he held it open on his knees, and he kept that book open on his knees with his great spectacles, and he was also wearing his spectacles, big size spectacles, lying across the pages, and he was reading the pages of the book. While I was wondering about it all, while Franz is saying, while he was wondering about it all, about the atmosphere of the class that day, M. Hamel mounted his chair. M. Hamel reached at his place from where he used to teach the students, and in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me said, and he started teaching, he started telling the students in a very grave and gentle tone. In that tone he usually talked to every student, and that tone was being used by M. Hamel that day. He said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you." And he addressed the students as children. Means you can see the students that in the classroom even the elderly persons of the village were sitting, but M. Hamel was so emotional and he addressed the whole class as my children. My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. My children, I am going to teach you the last lesson of French language. The order had come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. I am going to teach you last lesson because the order from Berlin come. Means the commanding officer of Berlin issued an order to teach only German language in the school of Alsace and Lorraine. That is why I will never teach you French language. I already told you about Alsace and Lorraine. Alsace and Lorraine are the city of France. The only German in the school in Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow, and he also said, new masters, your new teacher. He also said your new teacher will come tomorrow to teach you German language. This is your last French lesson, and Hamel announced that it was their last French lesson. Announced that he was going to teach last French lesson to the students. I want you to be very attentive. And he said, he requested the students that he wanted them to be very attentive. It means writer want to say that if the class is serious, if the students are attentive, and if the teacher is emotional and attentive, then if the students are attentive, then they can able to get everything which is being taught by the teacher. If the teacher is attentive and careful, then he will also teach in a proper way. So attentivity, carefulness, sincerity, everything is necessary while teaching and studying. What is a thunderclap? These words were to me after listening those words that day last French lesson would be taught to me. I was surprised, I was shocked. Oh, the wretches! That was what they had put on the town hall. Then friends reminded why the crowd was gathered just in front of the bulletin board in the town hall, and he understood everything. That notice was put on the bulletin board that in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine, French language would not be taught from next day, and only German language would be taught to the students. That is why Mr. Watcher the blacksmith was calling me. Thank you, students. Now I think you will have understood everything in this part. Now I will explain the next part of lesson tomorrow. Now I request you to read and write the explanation which I will provide you in written. Thank you and have a nice day.